Calling all Weekses to the Tuttles and Weekses. I don't know, Jared, does that sit right with you? She's always a Weeks and not a Tuttle? No, I don't really check whatever. Yeah, as long as she comes home to you. Alright, well, we got some quick announcements. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Everybody glad to be here for Thanksgiving? Woo! Yeah, that was a lousy woo. Everybody, that's alright. We got good food, we got good music. We're going to make your frown into a smile. We're going to turn that frown upside down. That's right. Alright, so as everybody knows, prayer month is Monday nights at 6 p.m. Everybody try to make it out. I know some of us, a lot of us work, and it's hard sometimes, but we need to make an effort because it's good for the soul. It could be kind of a good way to start the week, just praying to the Lord about things. Because we all have things to pray about. I'm sure everybody's got something that they need to pray about. Nobody needs to raise hands. Alright, Wednesday night's meeting. We're having no service Wednesday night because it is the night before Thanksgiving, and people will be cooking like mad. I know Dad's going to be cooking like mad. He says not really, but the little bit of cooking is like 4 sides and a ham and a turkey, so that's a meal right there. But for him, that's small. So yeah, but people will be cooking and spending time with family, so you want that. We're going to cancel the service so they all can do that. And then, oh well, now you tell me. So prayer is usually on Monday nights, but tomorrow Monday not going to happen.
We're going to decorate the tree tomorrow night.
Okay, so another new announcement is the church has a lovely Christmas tree we put up every year, and I guess Mom and Melanie and everybody else who wants to join in on decorating the tree. Jennifer's going to help my wife out putting it up. Well, we always wait for the ornaments for the service, but anyway, we're going to be decorating the tree tomorrow night, so anybody who can make it out to help for that, please do. And then immediately following the service, not only do we have good music, good message, but we have great food downstairs. Dad made 2 ducks, we got Bojangles for fried chicken, and then we got all kinds of fixings. So everybody hang out, have some food, and that's about it. That's all the announcements we have. So, I'm turning it over to the professionals.
Robbie, didn't she add something at the bottom?
Oh yeah, my bad. Not ready yet. I totally forgot. It was penciled in at the bottom here. Every year, we like to help a family in need around Christmas time. So the church is going to help one of its own. So if you would please give, and if you when you give in the offering plate, just put in family in need or something along that nature. Put it in an envelope or put it in as a check and just designate it as family in need. And we'll make sure that we can help the family make a great Christmas this year. So that's it. We don't have to do it right now. We'll do it at the offering. I don't know. No. Should we do the offering now? We'll do the offering now. Hey, Grant, get the plate and come on over.
Yeah, we can do an offering song.
An offering song?
Yeah, it'll just be a regular song that's later.
This is why I leave it to the professionals. They've done this.
Yeah.
Once like a bird in prison I dwell, no freedom from my sorrow I
special request here this morning. We're going to let her do a little tuning here. And but anyway, this song, and we're going to get Katie to do, was requested this song that she wrote about my dad. And Jeff and Leah, they know a little bit of the history of my family. And growing up, my dad was one of 9 of an old-time Church of God preacher. He came over in the Church of God in 23 and planted churches all throughout South Georgia and North Georgia for the Church of God in the 20s, 30s, 40s, all the way up into the 50s by the time that he passed away. But he had 9 children that went with him, and a lot of times a minister can spend a whole lot more time ministering to people than he can his own family. And so his family kind of became scattered as time went. My dad was a career Navy man who joined in World War II and did 21 years in the Navy. Most of it all was on water. But when he came home, I was a year old, and my dad was just a total train wreck. Alcoholic, gambler, running around mama, dabbling with some drugs here and there, different things like that. And I would sit as a child, and I would talk to my dad a lot of times, and we didn't go to church, but it was always around the house. You can't have something planted in you as a child and it not speak to you. So my mama's family was all old-time Baptist, my daddy's family was all holiness folks, so we just didn't go to church. But there was always gospel music, and there was always preaching on the radio. And my dad was the instigator of that, but he didn't live his life right. And I would ask my dad a lot of times as a child, I'd say, Daddy, if you were to die right now, where would you go? And he would tell me point blank, he said, I would bust hell wide open and burn forever. And I would say, well, Daddy, why? Because my dad had claimed to be saved at a younger age. But he would always look at me and he'd say, son, it's because I can't live for the Lord. He said, I've tried and I can't live for Him. I can't live good enough to be a Christian. And so he was convinced in his heart that, it's one thing for head knowledge, but it's another thing when you're convinced in your heart over something. And he had been brought up in such a rigid, strict home that he thought it was more about performance than it was grace and mercy. And so he lived his whole life in condemnation and guilt, not realizing that it was all about what Christ had done and not about what John could do. And so he didn't even try. And there's a whole lot of people in the world today that are like that all around us. Some of your kids go through that. Some of your parents have went through that. You've got brothers and sisters that's done that kind of thing, just laced with guilt. But it's kind of neat. I opened my grandfather's Bible up one day, and I was reading in the back of it. It's from 1923, and in the back of that Bible is my grandfather praying. There were several Bibles, but this is the one I wound up with. And in the back of it, it said, "Oh God, save my little children and make them to make their home in heaven." And I read that first time sitting in my office, and I thought, oh my goodness, God, you got your work cut out for you. Because I knew my uncles and aunts, and they done anything but live for God. I mean, they were rough. And but before they all died, that grace and that mercy took over in their life. And they all came back to the Lord, my dad included. The last 3 years of my dad's life was the best. I'm telling you what, he rock and rolled the gospel. Jeff, Leah, and all of us, we were all going to the same church, and I was preaching on the radio. And my dad would get my radio tapes, and he would take them all over town, shoving it. It didn't matter if you was a saved, lost Baptist preacher, Methodist preacher, whatever. He'd shove a tape in their hand and say, "Have you been baptized with the Holy Ghost and speaking other tongues?" And so, but this is a song Katie wrote about my dad and how he come back to the Lord. Hope you enjoy it.
9 kids on the pew with holes in all their shoes. It was 1932. Joseph, he knew the Word of God. shoes. It was 1932.
When my dad called me crying one day, and that was unlike him. I'd only seen him cry a couple of times in my life. And he called me crying on the phone, and he said, "Son, I just want to let you know that I gave my heart back to Jesus today." And he said, I was sitting listening to the radio, and he said, "I heard this preacher preaching on the radio. And the miracle of that is this radio station didn't reach that far." And he said, "I heard this preacher preaching that reminded me so much of my daddy." And he said, "The Lord just touched my heart." And he said, "I've asked him to forgive me of my sins. And I've rededicated my life to him." And, you know, me being just ignorant, I said, "Daddy, who was the preacher?" And he said, "It was you, son." And the Lord spoke to me, and he said, "The picture of grace is the picture